Finding new funding sources for your nonprofit is arguably one of the hardest parts of the job. Not because the money isn't out there, it absolutely is, but because the landscape is just enormous, it changes constantly, and nobody's out there handing out maps. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 6 websites you can use to research potential funding sources for your organization this year, several of which are lesser known or, in my opinion, are kind of flying under the radar. I'm going to explain exactly what each site does, what kind of funding you might be able to find there, and I'll share a tip or two for how to approach funding research and requests for each type of platform. Real quick, before we dive in, if you're feeling completely overwhelmed by where to even start with fundraising, comment the word guide below right now, and I'll send you the link to access my free fundraising starter guide covering steps and tips for multiple fundraising strategies. All right, let's go. Now, the first site I want to share is Grapevine Giving Circle Directory. So if you have never heard of a giving circle, in my opinion, you're missing out on one of the fastest growing funding sources in the nonprofit sector. A giving circle is basically a group of everyday donors who come together and they pool their money and then they vote collectively on which nonprofits they want to support. So this directory is from Philanthropy Together and Grapevine, and it lists over 4,000 giving circles. So you can search by location and cause focus to find circles that are actively accepting grant applications or are open to maybe nonprofit pitches. Giving circles might be an amazing funding and support resource for your organization because, according to the research, people who give through giving circles tend to give more to nonprofits the group chooses over time, and 60% of them even volunteer more. So here are a few tips as you're researching and thinking about how you might want to engage a giving circle in your location. First, I wouldn't just do cold outreach to groups in your area. I would focus on building a relationship first. Reach out to groups, ask how you can learn more about their group, if meetings are open to the public so that you can get to know the members personally, and invite members to learn more about the issue that you're tackling. You really want to focus on sharing your organization's community impact and volunteer opportunities. I've also had the opportunity to observe how giving circles choose which nonprofits they fund, and I can tell you that having a compelling story can go a really long way. Giving circles are just a group of human beings who want to connect emotionally to your cause, and the causes that do the best tend to get chosen. The second site is Candid's GuideStar platform. And if you're not familiar with this one, it's kind of a gold standard for nonprofit research. You do have to create a free user account, but then you can access the basic profiles of nearly 2 million IRS recognized tax-exempt organizations, hundreds of thousands of which, I might add, are grant-making foundations that might exist in your city. So you might search in the search fields for organizations with the words Family Foundation in their name to get started, and then dig a little deeper into their 990 IRS annual tax return, which is visible here. And of course, if you're not familiar, the 990 is the tax form that every registered nonprofit and foundation has to file with the government every year. So you can look at a 990 to see a foundation's leadership, their past grant recipients, and their giving history. A quick tip here, if you're using Candid or investigating 990s to identify potential foundation fits for your organization, you want to think about how when you pull a foundation's 990, you don't just want to look at their total assets. Scroll down to the section that lists the actual grants they paid out that year. It's often in their supplementary information addendums towards the bottom of the tax return. You're going to look at the average size of the grants that they give and the geographic location of the recipients. This is going to give you some clues. It's going to give you a clear picture of the size of the grants they normally give, and also if there are specific regions or cities or states that they tend to favor, if they don't already specify that geographical scope on their website or somewhere else. Ultimately, looking at a foundation's 990 is one way to assess if that funder could be a good fit for your mission. The third site is simpler.grants.gov. So if you've ever tried to navigate the federal grant system, you probably know how incredibly intimidating it can be. But the official source for US federal funding is getting a big upgrade. So the new simpler.grants.gov experience is supposed to make it significantly easier to search the entire database of discretionary federal grants by category, agency, and eligibility. So if federal funding is on your radar for the next few years, this is where you might want to start. A few tips on these types of grants. You might have heard federal grants are notoriously competitive and complex. Often your organization has to prove it has the capacity and track record to handle large programs. And some organizations report even having to hire a part-time or full-time staff person just to manage the grant and all of its compliance requirements. So it can be a lot. That's my disclaimer. But state and local government grants potentially might have much higher success rates. So to hone in on some of the potential state or local funding opportunities when using the federal database, try the advanced search filters to specifically look for pass-through funding. That's federal money that's given to state or local governments to distribute to local nonprofits, and they're much more accessible oftentimes for smaller organizations. Now, this fourth site is really interesting. It's the Benevity Causes portal, and this one is all about corporate giving. If you've watched some of my recent videos on fundraising, you might have heard me talk about how corporate philanthropy is on the rise right now. So if you haven't heard of this one, Benevity is a platform that connects nonprofits with corporate grants, matching gift programs, and volunteer initiatives from over 900 major companies. It's completely free for your nonprofit to register for a profile here. And once you're in the system, you'll become eligible to receive donations, grants, and matched gifts from employees at those participating companies. So a couple of thoughts on this one. Like I was saying, corporate giving is on the rise, but with corporate giving, you really want to pay attention to opportunities around corporate matching gifts, especially. How it works is, let's say you have a donor who contributes to your organization and you learn that they work at a company that offers matching gifts. So that donor can ask their company to match their own donation, which doubles the donation to your cause, turning one donation into two. Matching gifts can be a huge untapped resource. You just want to be able to remind your donor to submit the request to their company for these matching gifts, because billions in corporate matching donations often go unclaimed every year, according to Double the Donation. Quick reminder, if you are looking for some additional guidance on these and other fundraising strategies, don't forget to comment the word guide below, and I'll send you the link to access my free fundraising starter guide. Now, before I share our fifth and sixth sites to search for funders and donors, I do want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Click and Pledge. Click and Pledge makes it easy for nonprofits to start and grow their fundraising with confidence and facilitate matching gifts like we were just talking about, and equip your team members and supporters with the tools to help you go out and raise money for your cause. With Click and Pledge, you're going to get professional grade tools for super affordable startup level costs from day one. They've got customizable donation forms that you can plug right into your website. These forms are the foundation of all good fundraising strategies. But Click and Pledge also has a number of other tools included in their affordable flat monthly costs that you can use as your nonprofit is growing. Things like in-person and peer-to-peer fundraising features, really big right now. Video fundraising with embedded donation links, text-to-give tools, donor management tools, AI support like their Pulse feature to help create fundraising reports, and Ask Quickly, which helps your donors ask questions so that they can get the clarity they need in order to donate. They've got Salesforce and other integrations all included with no contracts or surprise add-on fees. Now, one thing I love is that unlike some platforms that increase your fees as you grow, Click and Pledge pricing stays the same whether you have 10 donors or 10,000 donors. So you can use the QR code and link in the description below to check out Click and Pledge, book a demo, and get your first $25 monthly fee waived. All right, fifth up, let's talk about the Grantsmanship Center website. Now, what I love about the Grantsmanship Center website, or TGCI, is that it's a really easy to use tool that lets you research funders state by state. It's going to cover foundation, government, and corporate funding categories all in one place. It's kind of like a no frills tool, but it is especially helpful if you're looking to identify local and regional funders quickly without wading through a massive, overwhelming national database. A couple of tips for using this site: because TGCI organizes funders geographically, how I recommend using it is to research your funders and build a highly targeted, like top 20 list of funders relevant to your organization that are in your geographical area. Local foundations are far more likely to fund you than national ones because they have a vested interest in the specific community that you serve. And just like I mentioned with the giving circles, you're going to want to focus on relationship building first if you can, if that's viable. Not all funders are open to a phone call or a meeting in advance, but if they are, it can really help you understand their approach to giving and whether your cause might be a good fit before you spend hours applying for a grant. All right, the sixth one is a little bit different. It's DAF Direct, and it's different because it's less a direct research site and more a site that you can use to increase the number of donors that you're likely to get donations from. So let me explain. Here's how it works. A lot of donors today are giving through what's called donor advised funds, or DAFs for short. So a donor advised fund is essentially a personal charitable savings account. Donors put money in, get an immediate tax deduction, and then decide later which nonprofits to give the money to. So DAF Direct is a free web application that you can embed directly onto your nonprofit's website. And it's going to make it way faster and easier for donors to recommend grants to your nonprofit from their donor advised fund. So the idea is to cut down the number of steps donors have to take to make a donation to your nonprofit through their donor advised fund. Now, a couple of thoughts for using a resource like this. There are pros and cons to DAFs, but there's no denying that they are kind of having a moment right now. According to the 2025 annual DAF report, DAF accounts reached a record high of nearly 3.6 million, holding over $327 billion in assets. And furthermore, 40% of all DAF distributions are now set up as recurring gifts. So by putting something like DAF Direct on your website, you can remove the friction for donors with donor advised funds, making it seamless for them to fund your mission, perhaps even on a recurring basis. Researching funders, it doesn't have to be a guessing game. I really hope learning about these sites gave you at least a little bit of inspiration and ideas that will help you save time as you're trying to raise money for your nonprofit. And don't forget, if you need a roadmap for starting to build out your fundraising strategy, comment the word guide below, and I'll send you the link to access my free fundraising starter guide to help you put all of these pieces together. And to keep learning how to build a sustainable, impactful organization, make sure you are subscribed to my free weekly newsletter linked below and at changemakercafe.com. If you're curious about some new and unconventional fundraising ideas more and more nonprofits are trying this year, you might want to check out this video next. I'm Amber Melanie Smith. Don't forget to subscribe to catch the next video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.